Hello, Facebook. We're going to have a conversation today about disconnection and forgiveness. But before I do that, I gotta add Bernadette. This is always a tricky thing to do. How do I add? Oh, there you go, Bernadette. Invite. Hello, Bernadette. Hi, Robin. Oh, great. Bernadette, approve. Hello.
Hello.
This took a little less time. So, before we start, Bernadette and I were talking about, you know, disconnection and forgiveness. And I was like, if I want to be disconnected with someone, why the fuck should I choose connection and forgiveness?
Yes, why, Kapil?
Why? So, Dete and I are going to have a conversation about it. So, Dete, tell us why, when we were talking about what to do FB Live on, you said disconnection and forgiveness. Why did you choose that topic?
uh, Mostly because I come from a very long line of disconnection in the sense that um, a lot of my, I would call it ancestors of people who preceded me, thought that it was okay that if somebody wronged them, somebody said a lie about me, somebody failed to satisfy something I requested, it was perfectly okay to ban them from their life. You're forgotten. You're pretty much
Right.
dead to me, and I didn't like it as a child. But very recently I realized I didn't like it, and yet I repeated that pattern. Like there were people that, for whatever reason, I felt wronged by them, and then I took it to, well, you should never be part of my life again. And I did it very consistently for a long time until through the 12 steps, I was given an alternative version of what could happen. And then I started reconnecting, and it was a painful journey back to connection. That it was easy, uh, but then as I did it more and more, then I realized, oh, this is the thing. This is something. So there is so much power in actually saying no. There is no way you can that I will kick you out of my life, no matter what you do. I won't kick you out of my life in the sense that I won't disconnect from you. And it doesn't have to look like it's looking right now. And it's a
Well,
hot topic because I can have many reasons to disconnect with people.
right. It's like for me, it's like sometimes, I mean, I get the why connection, but there's a place where I just want to stay disconnected, you know? It's like that fire of like I wanted to like take revenge or I want to
Yeah.
punish them, you know, for what they did to me,
And you have
and
reasons.
so
You have the rightness to punish them.
right. So I guess that's the thing we want to talk about, and interesting, I was doing a course this weekend and like yet another layer of how I withhold from people. And when I withhold from people, I create this illusion of rightness within that
Mm.
withholding. It's like, I am right, you're wrong, let's disconnect.
Yeah, their bad behavior justify your bad behavior.
Exactly. There's always someone needs to prove themselves right. So tell me about this idea of forgiveness, and like,
It. Mhm.
why connection over disconnection? What do you think?
I will tell you one thing that for me it's important that, and it took me a while to realize the first disconnection is never with the other person, is with yourself.
Hmm.
So the other person
Tell
just
us more,
embodies.
like, tell us more, a
Yeah.
bit more
So
in detail about it.
I I will tell you with an example. There was a guy that I fancied a long time ago, and from my perspective, it looked like he deceived me. He lured me into having a sexual relationship, but without any commitment. So, from my side, I look very like, poor me. And
You're the victim.
I'm the victim. I have all the right to, block him from Facebook, ignore him whenever he's around, and never to speak to him again. And, this was a person I eventually made amends because with time I realized that the first disconnection was with myself. There was a part of me who knew that he had no intention to go into that direction. And that part was like, hey, maybe we don't want that. And I disconnected from me in
Mm,
that point. Like I ignored that voice. Then when it happened, instead of reconnecting with the part that was telling me that truth, I put the blame on him. And then I don't reconnect with that part, and then I lose that friend inside of me that has insight, that has the capacity to detect places and to give me information.
mm,
So the way to reconnect is also to reconnect with that person that is just, the person that you have decided that wronged you. And then after that, there is an element of forgiveness, that also to forgive that person, you don't start with the person, you actually start with yourself. I had to forgive myself for ignoring myself. And then once you do that, at least for me, it was a lot easier to forgive the other person, because it's like, well, the cards were laid out in front of me and I
mm.
chose to ignore them. And that other person did whatever was best for them from their perspective. It's very hard to be angry when you have that level of truth, when you start seeing like, nothing justifies my desire for revenge except my own desire to feel better than another human being.
Mm. Right. So there's like for me, there's a lot of pride involved, right? It's like
Yeah.
when like I'm in a conversation or something happens and we disconnect with someone, and then it's like reaching out for connection is like humiliation.
It's, yeah, because it's like some part of you says you lost.
You lost.
You are the bitch now. Like you're just going and reaching, and it's really it's fucked up because it's not
Yeah.
true. And it plays to the very pervasive game of somebody has to win.
Right.
There is no position where everybody wins. It's like if somebody else wins, you lose. Rather than
Mm.
I win, they win, everybody wins.
And it's interesting. I'm gonna say that when we were talking about this topic, I said to you that there are some people in my
Hmm.
life currently who I don't feel like I wanna get
Hmm.
connected with. And and I was thinking about it, like, is it is it my pride? Is it really the place where I don't want to get humiliated, or is there something else? And I feel like there's, and I would love to hear what you think about it, but there's also a place where I think um, disconnection might be the resonant
Hmm.
thing in at a given
Hmm.
point in time while we go through our own process of uh, understanding what happened, or even I don't know. I don't like the word healing, but maybe part of it is healing from something um, before we
Integrating
are
the
ready
experience.
for,
Yeah.
right, integrating the experience before we are ready to connect back.
Yeah. So, like, I also agree in that term that at some point disconnection is the resonant stroke. When it becomes not resonant is when we believe that's the only stroke and that's a permanent stroke. So,
Right.
as a non-permanent,
It
you
fe
know,
it sometimes it
level of,
feels like it's permanent though.
yeah, of course it does, and it's very, very convincing. Like this should be forever. Believe
Forever and
me, I
ever and
believe
ever
so.
and ever.
Yeah, there is nothing that could get you close to that person. Not a possible way to connect. I actually earlier today I had a conversation with somebody, and I said it's totally possible to have somebody that you've blocked in all social media. You don't really want to have an interaction face to face, and yet you are connected, and yet
Yeah.
you're open, and you actually have all love and good wishes for this person. Yet, having a face to face conversation is out of the range. But it's such a subtle difference there. But that's extreme, and I would say that um, when in doubt, start with disconnection. Start by setting boundaries. Start by licking your own wounds and admitting the hurt. It's Disconnection is a good
A
stage
bit
for
of
that, like to admit,
self-pity, a bit of
yeah, I have it,
moping.
a bit of like bastards, and and the thing is, eventually that will move, and when it moves, take the hint and move with it,
Yeah,
and starts the journey going back to, perhaps I should start considering how I reconnect with that person, that institution, or whatever. And it's not immediate. It takes time. Go as low as you need to. I think a lot of people think that I am open hearted and I'm connected. Therefore, as soon as you say something that I don't like, I should remain there with my open heart. And that's a fucking lie. So
yeah,
it doesn't actually help.
right. Having said that, lately I've had experiences where I have connected back with a few people who I was disconnected. I don't know. I think we were always connected in some ways, but not speaking. And
Mm,
I have went in for reconnection, and I realized that like a big part of me was um, holding back because I had my own stories of like, oh, they don't really want to connect with me,
mm-hmm,
or they've moved on, or like sometimes I will have to say the uncomfortable thing that will bring us back into connection. And part of that uncomfortable thing might be that, oh, I got hurt last time when we spoke and I just distanced
mm-hmm,
myself. Um, and to my surprise, all of those times when I reached out and, you know, like let my pride down, it was,
mm-hmm,
I was pleasantly surprised. I was pleasantly surprised by how good it felt afterwards when I was reconnected
mm-hmm.
um, with those people. But I'll still hold on to the fact that I don't want to connect with everyone. So, do you go on? You were going to say something.
Now I was gonna say, I get it. Like, yeah, it feels really good, and sometimes it's like there is no way it's gonna feel like that if I try to connect with X, Y, and Z. It's
Right,
it's it's uh it's a phase of reconnection. To totally believe it will never happen, even if a day later you're like, of course I can see a situation. So, but you have to believe in that. Um, you know, uh, it's a funny thing because you have to believe that it will be like that forever to be surprised the next moment that it's not like that, and then believe, oh
right.
yeah, of course.
And I suppose that's a good point. Is like there's a point when you do realize that that phase of disconnection needs to come to an end.
Hmm.
And then there is a moment where you have to make the choice that you have to reach out for that connection to be made possible again.
Yeah.
And in that moment, I think a lot of the times, for me, in the past, definitely, I have chosen not to. And lately, I am realizing that, oh, okay, actually, it's okay for me to reach out, and it's not necessarily humiliating,
Hmm.
because on the other side of it, there is just warmth mostly and connection, where that's the resonant thing,
and
right?
and I think what helps with the pride and the humiliation, it's a humbling experience, to admit that there was this connection and you want to reconnect. But also, what I keep reminding myself, I don't reconnect with the other person because of them. I reconnect because of me. because it feels good to me. It makes me happy. It makes me feel more complete, more wholesome. Like it, it's in a way it's using being self-centered for my own benefit. Like it's not about them. It's about me. About feeling good about me. About having the peace of mind that when I walk on the street, I don't cross the road when I see somebody I'm not connected. There is peace on that. Like I see these people and I don't feel like I have to cross the road or I have to deliberately ignore this person.
Mm.
It's a relief because I as I told you, I come from a line where you know people will tell me, oh, we need to cross the road because X, Y, and Z, and I'm like, and when you see the insanity of that way of thinking, you realize like that's not a nice way to live your life when you have to always take all decisions.
But sometimes it feels so good.
I know it feels very good, and then it doesn't, and then that's the moment where you hear the voice like it's time to finish that little tantrum.
That's true. That's true. The forgiveness, on that topic, like, say more about forgiveness and what do you mean by that?
I Forgiveness is a funny word because um, it causes a lot of stir, especially if if you have an experience when you really couldn't, especially when you're a child and you are impacted by some adults' actions when you're like, there was no way I could defend myself. That's probably at the edge of that word. And people find out it's impossible to forgive something like that because I couldn't possibly, fight back or do something. And for me, that point is where it's a it requires a lot of compassion for the other human being that um, if they could, they would. If they could be and do something else, they probably wouldn't cause that amount of harm. And at the end, it's the same. You forgive another human being not because of them. It's because if you have that in you, it really causes you to be always distrustful, always living in a world that is terrifying. This is what I discovered. The more I started forgiving things that happened before, the less I was terrified and distrustful from other human beings.
Yeah.
And that benefited me. And then it's discovering like the humanity of the other person, realizing that, sometimes people are very, they're walking, talking bundles of pain. And
Yeah.
the only way that they can relate to their own pain is by inflicting that amount of pain on other human beings. And you happen to this is the fucked up part. And then you happen to be on the other side of that. And it's a fucked up call to say, hey, feel my pain. And to say, yeah, I felt it so deeply that I understand why are you going around inflicting that level of pain. And I cannot possibly be angry with a person that is that in so much pain.
Yeah. I remember Jack Elias
Mm-hmm.
talking about, this idea of a pure being versus your actions and us having a human experience.
Mm-hmm.
That we're all pure beings having a human experience, and that
Yeah.
human experience is where we act, you know, like these kind of ways.
Mm.
And if we can just remember that everyone, I mean, yeah, it's, you know, I find that there are times when I'm able to accept that, that everyone's a pure being, and there are times when
Mm-hmm.
I'm not willing to, you know. And I think that's like the key is like it's not that they are not, it's just that I am not willing to
Yeah.
accept that. And it's actually about me wanting to stay in the disconnection um, for whatever reason. It's not about them. It's about me choosing a particular way of being
Yeah.
and having a type of experience. And that might feel right. That might not feel right. And I think that's where it is. It's like noticing noticing the time when that phase of disconnection is coming to an end.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes, like, if you can, let go of your pride to actually do that even before that phase comes to an end, just to be surprised, I suppose.
I think that's a great way to put it. Be surprised how easy it is to let go of certain things. Because
Yeah.
sometimes our, it's like, oh, it took me a day, whereas you see other people taking decades of, being, and our mind is like, maybe I should suffer a bit more to be more normal. Like, no. If you feel it, if you're ready to move on, just move on. You're not gonna get extra kudos for suffering 10 years.
I think that's a good peak of suffering to end this. So what do you want to leave? One thing that you want to leave people with?
uh, for me, the biggest thing that I can leave people with is to have approval of their own experience.
Yeah,
Like,
I like that. Oh, looks like we've that's where you're disconnecting. Well, looks like that has chosen disconnection. So we'll end this. Oh, there you go. I thought you chose disconnection halfway through. You were very
yeah.
disconnected. Like you froze. Anyway, so we're gonna end it there.
I
Just tell
can't really
us
hear
if
you. It's like the
people want to
signal is
connect with
going.
you. Yeah.
So I'm now starting a new program. It's going to start probably in May, of practice, focus on practice, where these elements of reconnection, disconnection will be visited. So if people want to know more about this program, or uh,
All right. I think that
talk
signal
to
is not very
about
great.
connection.
Yeah, I think we will that if you can comment in the video
We're
and
talking
tell us
about
about your
disconnection,
program, that'd be
Kapil, and
great.
the signal
I
keeps
know
disconnected. So
this is funny. All right, we're gonna end the video there. If anyone wants to know about what I do, I coach people on relationships and I coach men uh, how to have the emotional communication. I'll put more details in the comment. I also have a men's Facebook closed group where people can connect and have conversation about these things as well. So we'll finish here and we will make this into a regular thing with Dete. Dete, if you can hear us and if you're not disconnected, say bye.
I am here.
Okay. All right. Bye, Dete. Oh, she can't hear it. Okay. Bye, guys. Thank you for watching. Put any comments or questions that you
Bye.
have in the comments.